It's Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. So yesterday, the Minnesota State Senate Judiciary and Public Safety Committee was discussing a bill, SF 1857, that would ban online chatbots for children under 18. And specifically, AI chatbots with persistent characters were intended for long-term interaction. I think I can be on board with the premise of this one, but I think it does also have a few nuances worth diving into. First, age verification on the internet is tricky from a privacy standpoint. It was asked about, and the bill's primary author, May Quaid from Apple Valley, responded with an anecdote that these companies can estimate your age to within a couple of months, backed up by a lobbyist who was there from a background in big tech to testify on behalf of the bill. Now, while I've no doubt that the larger tech corporations can do this, most of the time, if that sort of thing, meaning age estimation via generally available aggregate information about an individual, will need to be done by an API call to a dedicated ID vendor, which may be working with one or more data brokers. So, all that to say, data brokers are companies that collect or scrape, buy, and sell data about individuals, including you. Generally, this is done to target marketing at you. You'll notice that if you're not running an ad blocker and you search for a product on a store web page, then you will start getting ads for that or similar products on other web pages that have ads. Let's say that I hypothetically have recently searched for things like lever action rifle and 1911 pistol at a gun store. A data broker can pretty easily and sneakily record and store that information, and with that we'll be able to estimate somewhat accurately that I'm probably male, and based on that particular taste in guns, probably somewhere between 61 and 80 years old. Okay, but then these same brokers, or others that buy and sell data between them, have also logged my IP address searching for videos about a few different video games on YouTube. So with that second piece of information, they reaffirm my suspected male gender and then narrow their guess on my age to 30s or 40s, right? And this is happening constantly, no matter what you're doing on the internet. I mean, you can use a VPN, and that likely helps to prevent some of that aggregation based on your IP. But ultimately, you're likely being tracked because you're not just on your computer, you're also on your phone, and the likelihood that you're on a VPN persistently is relatively low. So while it is possible for a company to be able to estimate a user's age, I think it's inherently intrusive. I'm pretty uncomfortable with that last part. And one of the big problems that you have there is that you are not only financially incentivizing this sort of intrusive data brokering ecosystem as a business behavior by passing age verification laws, but you're also providing a legal justification for collecting and storing a whole bunch of user identifiable information for the purpose of aggregate age estimation. And that's just opening a big old loophole that would allow these brokers to exist, even if we were, as I'm trying to do with my DFL work, able to pass GDPR-style data privacy rules. Those generally are going to intend to limit the amount of data that companies are allowed to store about individuals to only what is required for a valid and consensual legal or business case. Another concern is that I'm not sure the way these chatbot services are actually built and run target the right companies. So I took a look at startups back when there were many LLMs and diffusion image generators just hitting the public domain, because I was running them locally to get a feel for what they do, and then taking a look at what people were doing in the online spaces to monetize it, especially in that really early era. Often it is independent developers or very small startups that are on the cusp of these things and the first ones to really turn it into a service, such as chatbots. But they rely on API calls. API stands for Application Point of Integration, and basically I think it's a monetized service like a microtransaction between companies to operate. So let's go through an example of how that actually would work. if you think of something like Character AI, which is one of the services mentioned in the testimony, that company will have you create an account, and then you can create or import characters that you then have conversations with, and that's essentially the service. The detail of these characters, like their personalities, and then their conversation histories with you, so that you have that rapport kind of saved in memory, are all saved, typically on that company's servers. And a bunch of that information is just typically sent across via that API. Again, it's an application point of integration to an external system to generate the output. Each time you, as the user, when you're talking with one of these characters, ask the system to generate a response, ask the character to respond or a story to progress, it rereads the last big chunk of that conversation and the AI character's description and history with you to generate a response. That technically is going to send a call to an AI service that is being processed in a cloud computing environment in a data center somewhere. The thing is, those calls are generally associated with a microtransaction. The Character AI service will pay a company like Amazon or Oracle for compute for each message, and the cost to process a structured response or a structured request into a response, notably what that character says next, is generally handled by a generally available AI large language model. The bill, as discussed, seemed in this example to target and add age verification requirements just to the front Character AI company, whereas it seems like the compute provider, like AWS under Amazon or Oracle, or even the company that built the AI models that are being used, such as Meta or OpenAI, should bear some liability in the process. Because by saying, oh, we're just a business that handles these transactions, it seems like they're going to be pretty liability free in the way that the legislation is written right now. Lastly, it's not entirely clear whether the bill targets the right behaviors. Again, Senator May quoted a general aim to target AI chatbots with persistent characters or an intent to persistently engage users, rather than AI services that directly answer questions by referencing and applying knowledge and data. The bill simply bans chatbot services based on age, rather than giving any sort of guidelines for use or marketing or deployment, etc. Yeah, so the bill, it just requires a website hosting such a service to ban it for minor use and require a user to provide proof of their age, and the monetary policy or penalty is no more than $5 million. That is easily enough to tank an individual or a small startup that is trying to do something new in that sort of space, which again, it's a bit past that. That was several years ago, and we now see that the space is kind of saturated and very legislated. But that $5 million penalty, like, it's a drop in the bucket, even if they were targeting the right companies like the Oracle and the OpenAI. So all in all, I think it's a well-intentioned bill, and I think putting some legislation and solid guardrails around these sorts of services is really important, because we watched Instagram and Facebook and the like be completely unregulated. But I just don't think that this bill is there yet. I think the approach overall needs work, and I think it needs a little bit more technical expertise.